my name is Dr. Lourdes Barraza, and I am part of the Endorsement Committee, and we are the moderators for this evening, so thank you for joining us.
We have a full agenda this evening, including hearing from our county supervisor candidates, Santa Cruz mayor races, city council, and superior court. Before we begin, I really want to thank every member of the endorsements committee for making this evening possible. So thank you. Now, the committee is responsible for organizing this entire program, and we'll be making sure that we have the opportunity to endorse candidates in a fair and impartial way. And that's why we're here tonight. We want to make sure that we have this be open, democratic, and focused on endorsing our candidates that support our values.
Here are a few notes about our process this evening. In order to adhere to our strict schedule, we have time monitors who will provide visual countdowns and a stop sign. Glenn, please raise your hand. There's Glenn. We are also collecting questions from the floor, which should be written on a note card and handed to the roaming endorsement committee members, Tony and Bodie. Wave your hands so people know who you guys are. Okay.
And I believe Maylin will be helping out as well with that.
We will start with our county supervisor offices. Both candidates are uncontested for our endorsement, and candidates will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and their campaigns. For mayor, city council, and judicial candidates, they have a 2-minute introduction, followed by a lightning round of yes or no questions, and then 3 floor questions, each with a 2-minute response.
Voting will occur this evening, and we'll announce the endorsement results tonight. A quorum must be present, and only committee members or alternates may vote to endorse. The vote will be public and conducted by a signed ballot. No absentee ballots are allowed. Ballots are part of the public record and can be requested at any time. The ballots for all candidates will be counted at the end of the program. A 60% vote of those present and voting is required to endorse a candidate in any contest. In the event that the committee fails to meet the endorsement threshold in a given race, then the position of the committee in the race shall be no consensus. If you are a committee member and have not picked up your ballot, again, they're in the back, make sure to do that. I haven't picked up my ballot yet, so I'll do that eventually. But again, thank you all for being here. Let's go ahead and begin our forum with county supervisor candidates. Justin Cummings and Felipe, if you want to make your way up. Each candidate will have a 2-minute introduction to assess their campaigns. And we'll start with Justin.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Justin Cummings, and I'm currently serving as the 3rd District County Supervisor for Santa Cruz County. And I want to start by thanking the Democratic Central Committee of Santa Cruz County for endorsing me during my election race in 2022. Just to provide you all with some background, I'm originally from Chicago. I moved to Santa Cruz in 2007 to pursue a PhD in ecology and evolutionary biology, which I received in 2013. I moved to Miami to pursue a postdoc focused on the impacts of climate change on the Everglades in 2013 and returned to Santa Cruz in 2015, where I actually started 2 nonprofits, one focused on increasing diversity in conservation and the other increasing diversity in the field of tech around use and the application of drones, largely because we know how important diversity is, not only in our workforce, but in our local government. And when I first decided to run for city council, it was largely because as a working professional here, I couldn't afford to live in Santa Cruz. And it's still a struggle, as many of us do, to afford to live in Santa Cruz. And so affordable housing has been at the top of my priority list. But running back then, when I first became elected to the Santa Cruz City Council, I was one of 2 African-American men elected for the first time. I was the first African-American man to be mayor of Santa Cruz in 2020. And in 2022 was the first African-American ever elected to the County Board of Supervisors, and want to continue to serve the County Board of Supervisors. My work is focused on affordable housing, protecting our environment, and currently I'm working on an effort where we've organized 12 out of the 15 coastal counties to oppose offshore drilling. I've served on the California Coastal Commission. I also am a DCC member and am a delegate for the Democratic Party. And so I'm committed to representing the values of Democrats and the values that we share here in our community. I've focused on issues that impact women, children, families, and I'm uncontested in this race and hope I can receive the endorsement of this the DCC. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you for endorsing me back in 2022 as well for my run for supervisor, and as well all my runs for city council as well. As you know, my name is Felipe Hernandez. I'm a former Watsonville mayor, council member, former Cabrillo trustee, and current Santa Cruz County supervisor in District 4. I was born and raised in Watsonville. My mother and father were farm workers. They worked in fields, strawberries, and my father in the apples. My mother worked in the canneries starting in 1970. She worked there all the way till 1995 and retired there, and then worked at a morgue for like another 20 years and retired there as well. And one of the things that happened that when she was working in the canneries that I always seen is that I seen a lot of women take leadership roles in that cannery strike. And it was different because in the male Latino, the machismo, it's a lot different in those type of environments. But women took leadership of this strike. And I seen my mother take leadership. I seen her talk to semi-truck drivers at a grocery store, and they ended up dropping off all the goods on the sidewalk, not into the store. And UFCW, of course, are the workers at these stores. They didn't go pick it up, and they left it there. And I saw the power of organized labor, of people coming together and working on issues, and it really struck me. And I went on, later on, I joined the Army. I was a veteran. I went to Desert Storm. I came back, went to Cabrillo, transferred to UC Santa Cruz in Community Studies, and then took a role working with the farm workers for 3 years, political organizer position, and then went on to SEIU for 10 years as an external organizer, working with folks that, improving the quality of lives of working people throughout the country. It took me everywhere, so I'm really happy to be here, and I really hope that I can get the DCC's endorsement again, and thank you.
We will now be moving on to the Santa Cruz County Superior Court Judge Office 3. Brian Hackett is the only candidate seeking our endorsement in this race. And they will have 2 minutes for introduction, followed by 3 questions from the audience.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. I want to thank the DCC for putting this on, and for everyone for showing up and for inviting me. My name is Brian Hackett, and I'm running for judge. I am a private defense attorney in Santa Cruz. I've been in private practice for 17 years, the last 15 of which has been across the street from the courthouse at 701 Ocean Street. At any given time, half of my practice or more has been court appointed, where I have had the blessing really of being able to represent some marginalized and underrepresented segments of our community, many of them Spanish speaking, and I have really been able to hone a philosophy of justice that incorporates a holistic model of law, which takes into account not just the face of each and every case, but all of the collateral circumstances that involve people getting before a judge in the first place. And that includes mental illness, drug and alcohol issues, socioeconomic challenges, cultural and linguistic barriers, educational barriers, and I've been really effective in being able to bring people to services and services to people and achieve real justice in this county. I've done that by collaborating with judges, district attorneys, county council, city attorney's office, the sheriff, interpreters, clerks, behavioral health, and a litany of staff and services available in our county. It's been my honor to serve as essentially a freelance public defender for the last 15 years, and it would be my honor to translate that method of service to the bench. I have cultivated these relationships across the building, and this is my home. My wife and I raised our 3 boys in Santa Cruz. I work here because I live here. I don't live here because I work here, and I would be honored to get elected in June, and I would be equally honored to receive the DCC's endorsement. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian. We have a question from the audience. What differentiates you from the other candidates seeking the position of Judge of Superior Court?
I will say this. It's easier for me to speak about me. What differentiates me from the other candidates seeking my office is I have spent 15 years in the building. My work has been boots on the ground, handshakes across the aisle, building collaborative agreements with opposing counsel, current and former members of the bench. I have received endorsements from current and former members of the bench. I've received endorsements and support from both sides of the aisle, if you will, public defenders, private counsel, and many in the district attorney's office. Those relationships and the years of cultivating those relationships in the building and working and litigating in Superior Court and understanding both the players and the process, I think is what really gives me a leg up in hitting the ground running and being ready for the job day one, if elected. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
So in a county where many residents are struggling with housing costs, debt, and economic instability, how do you see the role of the Superior Court judge in ensuring that access to justice is not determined by someone's ability to pay, especially in cases involving eviction, fines, administrative burdens that can compound financial hardship?
The question was, in a county where many residents are struggling financially, what do I see as the role of the Superior Court in addressing some of the financial burdens when someone attends court, such as exorbitant fines and fees and associated costs? More or less?
Yes.
Okay. And I think it's a great question, and I was talking with a gentleman before this evening began, and I will reiterate some of that conversation, which is I've worked in courts in California from San Bernardino to Richmond, and I can tell you firsthand that Santa Cruz County has the best, the most collaborative, and the most efficient building of justice in all the courts I've worked in across this state. And one of the ways that represents itself is I have seen judges, I have seen laws passed, and I've seen judges apply them where fees and fines are waived, and they don't bat an eye, and they don't ask for a blood test and a kindergarten teacher's name. They use their hearts, they use their ethics, and they recognize that people aren't there to fund the system. They're there to navigate a difficult part of their own lives. We have services to provide those people, and I have seen judges whom I will emulate recognize when people can't afford fines, and under People v. Duenas, if you can't afford the fines, you don't pay them. And I've seen that enacted day in and day out in the Superior Court of Santa Cruz, and I would apply that law as fit as well.
Thank you.
We only have time for 3 questions per race, so we're hoping to make sure that we maximize the questions that we get, so we can have the opportunity for candidates to address different questions throughout the forum. And as a reminder for the previous races that we've gone through, including County Supervisor and Superior Court Judge, the voting threshold for those races, since there's only one candidate seeking our endorsement, is 55%. Okay.
We will continue our program with the candidates for Santa Cruz Mayor. Each candidate will have a 2-minute introduction, followed by a lightning round of yes or no questions, and answer 3 floor questions, each with a 2-minute response. The order for the 2-minute introductions are determined by lottery. The first is Amy Chen Mills. Next will be Ryan Coonery. Next will be Joy Schendeldecker. Then Chris Crone, and then Jillian Greensight. Let's begin.
Yeah, all the candidates come up for mayor.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Amy Chen Mills. You probably know me. I have lived in Santa Cruz County for 30 years and raised 2 daughters here in the public school system. I hope you know, if you know me, that no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, I'm always willing to listen and to have a conversation with you. I might hope to change your mind, and you might actually change mine. I believe this is where good policy is crafted. I was inspired by the recent Measure C work for that initiative and the Block campaign, which I helped to co-found, reaching across old political divides in Santa Cruz and coming up with solutions. You might also know, if you know me, that I fight very hard for the things that I'm passionate about. I've been a climate activist for 10 years. I served on the Westlake School Site Council. I served on the City Homelessness Committee. I'm the founder of the Get the Flock Out campaign. I served on the board of the Conflict Resolution Center, and I'm the current communications co-chair for the DCC. I have supported LGBTQ and POC rights throughout the community in many ways, and I help protect the lower benchlands and establish indigenous stewardship there in the city. My mother and husband are immigrants, and I am a woman of color. I am deeply concerned about the federal government, as we all are. I believe it takes someone who understands the immigrant experience and is tracking the Trump regime and its mass surveillance intentions, along with the ICE Gestapo, to truly protect our community. I have questions for a co-candidate, Mr. Coonerty, about his blanket approval of ALPR mass surveillance cameras and his apparent support for a gubernatorial candidate who is taking tech fascist mega money by the bucketfuls. How will he protect our community from fascism and surveillance, the tip of the fascist spear, if he is not connecting important dots in governance and campaign finance? I ask this question with sincerity, and I hope he has a chance to answer here. These are concerns of mine. Please know, as mayor, I will do everything in my power to protect our community and build our resilience. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ryan Coonerty. I'm a candidate for mayor, and I appreciate your support tonight. Last night, I began teaching a course that I've taught for more than 20 years at UCSC called The Law of Democracy. See some of my former students and maybe current students in the class in the room tonight. This class is about voting rights, about redistricting, about money in politics, about all those things. And as I teach it, I am filled with dread for the direction our democracy is headed nationally, and I appreciate the work that this organization has done to push back against that, and that the communities, the city, the county, the other cities in our state, in our county have made to push back. I believe we need to push back against oil drilling and mining off our coast. We need to push back against ICE. We need to push back against undemocratic approaches to government. But the other way that we push back is by showing that a progressive vision can serve a community, can give people what they need, which is housing, jobs, childcare, after-school programs, safe parks, neighborhoods that they can enjoy and get to know their neighbors, can be prepared for disasters that will come. And in my record, at 8 years on the city council, 8 years on the board of supervisor, I have worked collaboratively across jurisdictional boundaries, across between the private sector, the public sector, nonprofits, in order to get real results. We got real results for low-income first-time moms and their babies, and a transformative program here. We took money out of criminal big banks and put it in local financial institutions. We built housing that reflected our values. We protected our environment and established a national monument on the North Coast that'll be an amazing access point for years to come. I'm proud of my record. I believe with 4 years as mayor, at this critical moment in our in the nation and locally, I have the skills and experience to be able to guide us forward. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Joy Schendeldecker. Thank you for being here tonight and for all the work you do for Santa Cruz. I'm an organizer, educator, artist, and service worker on the front lines of our housing and homelessness systems. I work in local shelter programs where I oversee operations and support people through crises, and where I see every day how quickly people fall into homelessness when housing costs outpace income. I also want to acknowledge and thank Amy Chen Mills for her leadership. I'm proud to serve as her alternate on the DCC, and her courageous work has helped shape my understanding of what it means to lead with integrity and accountability. I'm a Democratic Socialist, a Bernie-crat if you prefer, because I believe the crises we're facing, housing, homelessness, climate, civil rights, and economic inequality, are not separate problems. They're the result of systems that prioritize profit over people, and we need to be honest about that if we want real solutions. That means keeping people in the homes they already have, with strong tenant protections and real support. It means building more housing, while being clear about what kind of housing we build and who it is for. It also means changing how we govern, aligning our budgets with our values, investing in a strong public workforce by paying SEIU members well and filling critical vacancies, and creating real pathways for our most impacted residents to shape decisions. At the end of the day, this campaign is about whether people can stay in Santa Cruz, feel safe, and live with dignity. That's the work I've been doing, and that's the leadership I'm ready to bring to City Hall. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Crone, and I'm running for mayor of the city of Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is one of the most stunningly beautiful places in the world. From Westcliff Drive to the upper campus Redwood Forest, from the Walton Lighthouse to Arana Gulch, we are truly blessed. But right now, too many people who make the city run cannot afford to live here. Teachers are commuting over the hill, service workers are traveling great distances from Hollister and as far away as Gonzales. Young people who grew up here don't have places to live, and because of the lack of housing on campus, 5 and 6 UCSC students are living in 2-bedroom apartments in town. I'm running for mayor because I believe Santa Cruz is not for sale and should work for the people who live here, not just the people who can afford to invest here. Let's be clear, high-end housing we have. We need more affordable housing, housing that our nurses and teachers and union frontline workers can actually afford, housing that keeps families here. I'm running for mayor to protect the natural environment, and along with our county partners, I want to seriously address homelessness and the needs of our communities unhoused. I'm running to improve public safety and acknowledge that we must address the public health care crisis first and incorporate public health care practices into real public safety. We have a choice in this election. The front runner had hoped to avoid a competitive race for this seat, but in Santa Cruz, we don't support coronations. We support democracy. Democracy means accepting fair and just campaign finance limits. Democracy means protecting immigrants from ICE. Democracy means encouraging community input into what gets developed here. It also means opposing surveillance of our community members. I'm running for mayor because I believe Santa Cruz is not for sale, and I would cherish your vote in the endorsement of the Democratic Central Committee tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Gillian Greensight, and I'm running for mayor. I've lived in Santa Cruz for 51 years. I'm originally from Australia, and for the past 45 years, I've been involved very closely in city politics. I'm the only one here on this panel. This is my first time running for any political office. And I'll share with you a few reasons why I think that's important and why I chose to do that. I've become very familiar with how City Council and City Hall runs. And I've been alarmed at what I view as the overbuilding in Santa Cruz in the past 3 to 5 years. We've vastly exceeded the state mandates. And the more we build, particularly market rate, the more our area median income rises and makes that much more difficult for working folks to live here. I've worked very hard. I was on the civil grand jury for a year and worked very hard to put out a report that documented that the city has no idea who is getting our affordable housing. And I've worked since then with housing activists, and we're very close to getting an ordinance that will put teeth into requiring the city to document that the affordable housing that is built goes to the people who work here and goes to locals. So I've not been sort of just on the bystander. Best known probably for the work with the group to stop the wharf being turned into a Pier 39. I've done a lot of environmental work. Stop the city weakening the heritage tree ordinance. I worked for 30 years at UCSC on rape prevention education. I've been trying to get our city to take that issue seriously. Since that time, I'm still waiting. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all the candidates for those introduction statements. We will now be moving to the lightning round. we're going to pass out these little paddles that have a yes thumbs up and a no thumbs down. We will ask you a series of questions. You'll raise yes or no. Here's what they look like for the audience to see, the yes or no. We'll just give it a few seconds for you to think of your answer, and then we'll raise it. Okay, make sure we got the right number.
Do you have a maybe? Who's gonna ask?
No, you gotta take a stand. That's what we're here to talk about. So yeah, let's move on to our first lightning round question. Do you support ranked choice voting? Amazing. As mayor, would you support the use of automatic license plate readers? Do you support publicly funded elections?
Nope.
Are you willing to sign the no fossil fuel money pledge, which we'll have available after the meeting? Are you willing to sign the patience over profits pledge, which will also be available after the meeting? And the last question is, do you accept the campaign spending limits, or did you accept the campaign spending limits? Great, thank you. That now concludes our lightning rounds, and we'll be moving to our first question from the audience.
So this is the question. What role do you see the city playing in addressing issues such as homelessness, affordable housing, and how do you intend to work with the county to address these issues? And we will start with Jillian.
Thank you. It's homelessness and affordable housing and how to work with the county. Is that correct? If I got that, thank you. Well, I touched on the affordable housing issue. We can't build our way into affordability. I rarely ever see mention of the role of investors in buying up housing and sitting on them, which raises the cost of housing. That has been true in Phoenix. We have no data. I'm sure it's true here. We have to look at the bigger picture of why we suddenly have a scarcity of housing. I think that statement is overblown. I think it is a rather artificial scarcity. So number one is I would make sure that our affordable housing is prioritized, and it's lawful to do so, for the workers who have jobs in the city who now are traveling long distances, and for locals in the city who lack that housing. We cannot supply housing for everybody in the whole county and the whole region. So I'd be working with the county to make sure that the provision of housing, affordable housing, is spread throughout the county and encouraged, and it goes to those who are most in need. In terms of houseless or homelessness, I think that is a very complex issue. It's a heterogeneous group of people. Some are just a paycheck away, down on their luck. Others have serious mental and drug problems. And some are people who are being destructive to our environment and to others in the community. So we have to take a multi-layered approach to the issue of homeless. And yes, I think I'll stop my time to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, in terms of homelessness, I've worked actually a lot with people who are unhoused in jail settings, juvenile hall, correctional ranches, kids and adults who are either completely unhoused or precariously housed. And I think that one of the things we need to do, now that it looks like we are reducing our numbers of people who are unhoused according to the point in time count, is really listen to those people who are chronically unhoused, because some people actually don't want to get into a little unit, an apartment. It makes them feel isolated, it makes them feel alone. So how can we create spaces like the Tiny Home Village in Watsonville where people will feel comfortable and where people have a certain amount of empowerment and self-efficacy? I believe there's a program, I was just looking into this at the county now, where every person is tracked, like through a registry. And that's been very effective in other cities, really tracking and knowing people and knowing what they need. So I'd be interested in looking into that program. I think it's great that we have People First now doing a lot of work for the unhoused. Joy works in the shelter over
Overlook Armory.
the Overlook Armory over up on near the golf course right now, and I think it's great to have this agency that's doing such good work. How can we continue to support them? We have to get funding. Funding is threatened, and we're going to have to really work on that with the county. What kind of federal funds can we get for helping with homelessness? That is like essential right now. In terms of affordable housing, there are lots of measures there. I think besides the building that's going on, and we do need to build affordable housing, I think. We also need to protect tenants who are in housing and support tenants' rights organizations and make sure that tenants and renters know what the laws are, because the state has passed rent control. The state has passed just cause eviction. How do we educate? Can we have a city department that is actually in charge of assisting tenants that's permanent? And that's the end of my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I was interviewed by the realtors today, and I had to give them the bad news that no, I would not support luxury housing, more luxury housing in the city of Santa Cruz. Right now, there's a lot of displacement going on, has been going on for a while, and there's a bunch of things that we can do. There's something called AB 1482 that's not really being enforced by our city council, which is about, it holds the line on rent increases, 5% plus inflation. So that would be about 7.7% this year. If you have a landlord that wants to charge you more than that, raise your rent more than 7.7%, you need to report that person and say, hey, or at least talk to them first and say, hey, that's not what the state is saying. There is this assembly bill that's out there. What Amy just said, a rental registry, that would help a lot. Getting the landlords, in line to work with the city. I think increasing tenant legal services is another thing. The tenants, it exists, but tenants don't know where to go. So you need to have an outreach program. You need to have a really vigorous outreach program to let people know what their rights are. It's very common, and that's working with ICE right now. I speak with many immigrants, and everybody's got the little card, and they're very schooled on this. And we can do this also with renters in Santa Cruz as well. UCSC on the Hill, they're not building, they're not pulling their weight, and we all know that. And they are not housing supposedly 100% of their new students, and that's not happening. And they want to grow to 28,000. So I think you need to check UCSC on their growth and get them also providing. What they do is the students are all spilling over into town. They're really happy there's a building boom going on in Santa Cruz, but these aren't affordable units. These are units. You go to River Road, there's 175 units, 20 are affordable, and the others are, just astronomical. Thank you, Glenn.
On homelessness, starting during COVID, the city and the county partnered to take over hotels, create shelters, and the homeless population of the city of Santa Cruz is half of what it was 5 years ago. That is an extraordinary accomplishment, not only by policymakers, but more importantly by the people doing the real work of doing the outreach, helping people get there. The challenge we now face is that the remaining 50% are the folks who are most suffering from drug abuse, substance, from mental health issues, from a variety of issues, and they're going to take a different kind of intervention. And we need to partner with the county to implement care court, to implement conservatorship, to make sure that we're getting people the help that they need. I was just walking neighborhoods this weekend, and I had a mom, son just signed up for Little League Baseball, first grader. She's like, I'm pulling him out of Little League because I'm not going to drive my kid past Coral Street every day. We're going to have to go to a different community for him to access his parks. That is an unacceptable situation, and we need to get to a point where we go on Coral Street, which is functionally an open-air drug market, and say, we have shelter for you, and we need to provide that shelter. We have treatment for you, and we need to be able to provide that treatment. We have a bus ticket back home or to somewhere else where you have more connections and more opportunity. And if you are unable or unwilling to make that choice, we need to work with you to get you into care court, the PAC court, which I helped establish, a partnership on accountability, community and treatment, where people were offered a pathway forward, or conservatorship, because it is an untenable situation to have that level to allow people to subsist in misery on our streets and to drive families out of our public spaces and out of our youth programs.
Hi. So yes, over the past few years, partly because we have the Housing for Health partnership between the cities, county, and a multitude of organizations, we've made really good strides in not having this hot potato politics of who needs to take care of houselessness issues in the city of Santa Cruz. And that is progress that we cannot walk back. We also have seen real progress in the defeat of the lawsuit against the Harm Reduction Coalition. We, as a nation, as communities, have a lot of information about what does and doesn't work to help people who have experienced economic hardship, disability, transformative life experiences on the level of death and divorce, major accidents, traumatic brain injury. We know that policing people does not help them to become housed or community members that fit more comfortably with those of us who are housed and middle class. In terms of housing, I would also say that we need to continue to partner with the county and with other cities to balance our housing needs. Santa Cruz does need more housing. We have 20,000 people a day commuting into the city. The majority of those people are service workers. They cannot afford to pay for the gas that it takes them to fill up their cars. It takes a toll on them and their families to spend an hour in the car each way. This is a complex problem. These are all complex problems, and we need to address all of the different factors in coalition and in conversation. Thank you.
Thank you all the candidates for those answers. We now have our next question from the audience. You will have 2 minutes to respond. The question is, what makes you qualified to become mayor? The order will be Joy Schendelbecker, Chris Crone, Jillian Greensight, Amy Chendells, and then ending with Ryan Coonerty.
Thank you. No time to rest. Okay, what qualifies me? Well, I'm uniquely qualified to be a leader in this community. I'm 50 years old. I have an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old. I've been involved in community organizing for more than 20 years. I grew up on the East Coast. I've lived in London and Brussels, and now I've been here for 11 years. And I embed myself in communities. I learn from my neighbors, and I make neighbors out of people that I am different from, so that I'm not scared of them, so that they are my friends. We are more alike than we are different. I would say in terms of temperament, I like to research. These endorsement questionnaires and the forums, it's like volunteering yourself to do hours and hours and hours of homework for no grade. So, I like to research. I love community organizing and bringing people together to work on challenging issues, to get our feet and our hands dirty. I've learned from a lot of my mistakes. I've learned from a lot of my conflicts. I became a certified community mediator after my last council run, because there is so much conflict. When we disagree, how do we disagree? without attacking each other's characters? How do we disagree respectfully? That is how we build trust as communities, by getting to know each other, by reaching out, by bringing people together for town halls, by really listening, by not having consultations where we pretend to listen and then we just, make the decision that we already decided beforehand. That pisses people off. That's not democratic. So, thank you.
I was on the city council from 1998 until 2002. I was mayor in 2002, and I was reelected in 2016. But I don't think just because for that reason, that's why I should am eminently qualified to be on the mayor of the city of Santa Cruz. I come from a union family. My dad, my mom, they're both strong union members, and I was on the executive committee of the graduate students back when we formed a union and we affiliated with the United Auto Workers, ended up doing that and getting graduate students health care, and actually a lot of changes took place during that time. I worked for a group called Santa Cruz Action Network that was helping, working with candidates and getting folks elected. I come through a community organizing, as Felipe mentioned too. I'm a proud community studies graduate, and that was an amazing training ground. I will say, I will be in there in closed session for you, and closed session, way too many closed sessions. They take liberties. Council members talk to each other, 7 of them, and they don't even know it sometimes. The city attorney has to remind people, can't talk about that, we're on this personnel issue here. So many decisions take place in closed session, and I would work toward limiting the number of issues that go to closed session and keep transparency and keep our government open. I give 3 things of negotiation and mediation. I worked with Charles Canfield at the Boardwalk in getting those 2-way bike lanes on Beach Street, and that was a tough issue because he was worried about his trucks. So we included little truck pullouts all along Beach Street, if you noticed, and we have a 2-way bike lane. Eastern access, we negotiated. I was on a committee with Catherine Byers, and people want to drive through the Pogonip. We cut off Eastern access for 20 years. We worked with the university on it. Thank you, Glenn. Sorry.
Thank you. Well, it's true I haven't held elected public office. I have been on 2 different city commissions, 3 times as chair. Thinking about what qualities I think one needs in any leader, and particularly the mayor of a city, I think first of all, the leadership qualities of being able to run a meeting. I have a reputation as being a very effective chair of small and large meetings. I'm a good listener. I do not exclude people. I'm respectful of staff, other council members. I believe that I have a good rapport with the current city council members, and I think I have the respect of staff. In the community, I have done quite a bit of organising going way, way back when I was learning the ropes. We worked very hard in a community group to keep the Garfield Park Library open, and I was a newbie then. I just was learning to listen to people. But over the years, as I gained more confidence and more skills working with a group which was called the New American Movement, the precursor to DSA, although I voted against that merger, but I won't tell anybody that. But I did learn what it takes to be an effective leader. At the university, that was an uphill battle when you're dealing with rape and the administration for 30 years. They'd like you to go away. So I learned perseverance, respect, and I just finished by saying, I like to look at facts. Right now, there's bloat at the top in a couple of departments in the city. Their numbers have doubled. while Parks and Rec has been cut by a third. Thank you.
You just brag a lot when you're campaigning. It's very weird. Find it strange. I love human beings. And I'm not an ideological person, I'm a solutions-oriented person. I would say I'm a progressive person, and my definition of progressive is that I look at where the money is coming from and how people in power want more power or more money. And I think that's a very important distinction, because in our community we often say, I'm progressive and I'm progressive, but actually I think there is a real delineation. And I think we need to look at that. And I am willing to look at that. I am not taking corporate money, PAC money. When I talked to the real estate folks today, they said, well, are you gonna take our money? And I said, you know, no, unfortunately, I could really use it. I feel like I listen really well to people. When there's conflict, I don't hold a grudge. I don't care how you voted yesterday or the day before. I want your vote now, and I'm willing to work with you. I think all humans have a reason for the way they think, right? And if I can understand your reason for how you think, then we can talk together about, well, what are our shared values? What do we believe in together? A lot of people, like on homelessness, are like, oh, you know, those people hate homeless people or unhoused people. And I've talked to people, you know, on that side, and I feel like a lot of them actually do care, and they have compassion. They're just frustrated, or they're scared, and they don't know how to be with unhoused people. Joy and I both have had much more experience just being with people in all stages of life. And so I'm reluctant to dehumanize anyone or to force anyone to do things. I mean, if people commit violent crimes, we have a justice system for that, right? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not interested in mandating anything, and thank you so much. My time is over.
I believe I have a couple of things which would make me a good mayor. The first is experience. I've had 8 years on the city council, 8 years on the board, and through that we went through an economic downturn that was extremely painful. We went through COVID, we went through fires. That takes a lot of experience and know-how to be able to mobilize the government during these times of crisis. Also, in my having grown up here, raising kids here now, starting businesses, running nonprofits, volunteering across in dozens of different nonprofit organizations, teaching at the university, teaching at Cabrillo. I've built relationships all across this community, so when I make a decision, it's based on what I've heard from people who are living and working and serving in this community. Finally, politics is a team sport. We're all going to stand up here and say we're the greatest thing ever. It won't mean anything unless you have 4 votes on the city council. I've been endorsed by every single member of the city council and the mayor. I've been endorsed by 8 former mayors, board of supervisors, Gail Pellerin, Jimmy Panetta, Sam Farr, Anna Eshu. All those people endorsed me because I was able to work with them to get things done. We didn't always agree. There were times when we were fighting on a regular basis, but they knew that I was committed to this community. I knew they were committed to this community, and we were able to get real results for the community. When I was at the county, we pushed to create a dashboard of 187 goals that this county needed to meet. It is still in effect today, so that everyone could track and see beyond what we all say every 4 years in a campaign, but how is it translating into the ground? Are we reducing poverty? Are we creating more child care spots? Are we protecting our environment? Are we using less water? What are our emergency response times? We created those so that you all can hold us accountable, and that's what I'll do as mayor.
Now we have our third floor question. How do you see yourself continuing or shifting from the approach and work of the current mayor and council? The order is Chris Crone, Joy Shandeldecker, Brian Coonerty, Jillian Greenside, and Amy Chen.
Thank you. I'll say two things. You have to work with 3 other council members to get a majority on the city council. The mayor does not have, carte blanche, can do whatever they want. It's not a strong mayor system. But what I will do is I will stand up to developers and I will stand up to labor, up for labor. And so those two things, standing up to developers and standing up for labor, are things that I've seen go by the wayside in the last 5-6 years. And what I mean by standing up for labor is that you do not let these folks get away with bringing folks in from Los Angeles, huge groups to work on these projects, and from San Jose. What about jobs here for Santa Cruzans? They're not employing people from Santa Cruz. They also need to pay prevailing wage. They also need to sign project labor agreements. And guess what? We need a raise in the minimum wage. You can't live in Santa Cruz. The rent's too damn high and the wages are too damn low. There's an apprenticeship program that worked really well for labor, and we need to support those. And these are things that haven't been happening. And what I mean by standing up to developers is when you're on the city council, you negotiate with developers. You ever notice around all these new developments, the bike lanes are gone, the sidewalks are gone? Those are negotiated. You can move those fences and preserve the sidewalk and preserve the bike lane. But the current city council's not doing that. I don't know why they don't do that. It's a simple thing. You work with them and you actually do what's called public benefits. You demand things from the labor. Like, hey, we got some nice stairways on Front Street right now going up through River Road. That was a public benefit. There's an easement that goes through that. But there's a lot of other things that you can ask for when you're on the city council and you're sitting down and negotiating with developers. Thank you.
Repeat the question for me, please.
Yes.
Sorry.
How do you see yourself continuing or shifting from the approach and work of the current mayor and council?
Okay. So I actually don't think Fred has done a horrible job all around. I mean,
Tell me.
there's things, of course, that I would do differently. Some small things like allowing for more public comment. As you make public comment shorter and shorter, people have, especially during oral communications, you have less of a chance for people to participate. It's already very difficult for people to participate. Taking out the evening part of the meeting has made it difficult for people to participate. I would, in my first year, start some pilot programs for neighborhood precinct assemblies. We could start with the Beach Flats neighborhood and fund that. I think that bringing politics to our precincts rather than having people come to city council chambers every other week during business hours makes a lot of sense. Another thing that I would do is I would not be funding as many supervisor and managerial positions. I would be funding more of the boots on the ground positions and filling those vacancies. It is unsafe for our workers when they don't have enough people on the job. I know this for myself. When I am down a staff person, when I'm working as a lead monitor, it is not as safe. When we have to respond to a crisis, when there's somebody in need, we can't respond as well. This is when people get hurt, when they're tired, when they're overworked, when they don't have more people around them supporting them. So those are just two things that I would do differently. If you give me a few more minutes, I could think of a few more, but I think those are two really good ones, and time. Thank you.
I think, Joy, I'll say it to you, I think you just made some really good points. So a couple things. I do believe we need more frontline workers at the city, less managerial workers. We need to be filling potholes, maintaining our parks, doing the basics, showing real results for our community. The second thing we do is City council meetings serve a purpose for moving an agenda, but they are not the way to engage the community. We need to be out in the community, the council with the community, beautifying parks, cleaning up, having youth councils, having town halls. Let's engage the community where they are instead of expecting them to not help their kid with homework, not go to their second job, and come down to us in order to participate in a Brown acted board meeting. So I want to get the community out and about. The third thing, and this didn't come up in the DCC interview, it didn't come up in the Santa Cruz local interview today, which is we need to create jobs. My college students are facing the worst job market in recent memory. The folks are being laid off. We need to be out working with private companies to create jobs, fill vacancies, and create other opportunities. I have a record of growing a private business, co-working space. My sister has a business, my wife has a business. I know what it is to create jobs. It is not easy, but we need to do a lot more to create economic opportunity for people and ensure that our community is vital from an economic point of view as well as cultural and from a housing and childcare and all the services we want.
Thank you. When the current mayor on his first meeting set a policy that there will be no council discussion until a motion is made, I thought at the time, I don't think that's going to work well. 3 years later, I have seen that it has not worked well. It has eroded the debates that used to happen amongst council members. And he also said that council should get their questions answered before the meeting. So what we have now is, quick meetings, efficient, little debate amongst council, and then a motion is brought forward, fully fleshed out with staff before the meeting, and public comment after that is superfluous. It really feels like the council is rubber stamping staff decisions. That I've seen with my own eyes, and I would, that's something a mayor can do. I would change that policy. I would also, since we now have districts, which is a new thing for our city, I would encourage, I doubt a mayor can mandate, but I would set the tone that council members should be meeting on a regular basis in their districts with their residents, and the mayor should go as well. At budget time, I'd look very closely at the rate that the Economic Development Department and the City Manager's Office, they've doubled their top staff, while other departments have been cut. We've lost all our park rangers. Now, the city manager hires, but the mayor and council members together can take a closer look at the budget. I would also steer staff away from overbuilding. We are 2 years into our 8-year housing cycle, state mandated. We are already on the books, 4,000 units, and we're only supposed to be doing 3,700. Thank you.
Well, the first thing I would do is remodel the mayor's office. It's a joke. That is a joke. I have heard actually from people and also from Santa Cruz Local, who's done a survey on this, that people are feeling like things are not very transparent. They're not getting enough information from the city. People are very confused about housing and the RENA numbers and why are all these big buildings going up. Those of us who track politics need to be educating others. And if I were the mayor, I would be educating people on social media, as I do now for the DCC. I'm on the comms committee. I put out what we've done, like every meeting, to the public, because people need to start to get involved. It is essential that we get involved in the current atmosphere of an administration that doesn't want anyone to be involved. And so we need to double down on our involvement and build community. I think districts now are a great way to have town halls like in each district and have council members go if they're willing. I don't know if I can force council members to do this or not. I know they're very busy and they have jobs. Actually, I think we should pay council members more because that's an equity issue, so that people who actually have to work for a living can be a council member without having 2 or 3 other jobs to have to support themselves. Otherwise, it's, people who are independently wealthy, for example, right? So I support raises, I support staff. This is an important city. The real estate industry has taken a big interest in our city, if you haven't noticed, right? And so in order for us to deal with the building and how can we push back, we need to have time to look at all of that and research all of that. On Mondays, before council meetings, I will be in council chambers and I will be talking to people who come and want to talk about the agenda. I got this idea from a former mayor. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the best idea. Come and talk to me about the agenda. We'll talk about what's on it and what you might be interested in. Thank you so much.
We will continue our program with the candidates for Santa Cruz City Council District 4 and 6. Each candidate will have a 2-minute introduction followed by a lightning round of yes or no questions and answer 3 floor questions, each with a 2-minute response. The order for the 2-minute introductions will be Hector Marin, Scott Newsom, Renee Golder, and Gabriela Noah.
Buenas tardes todos y todas. My name is Hector Marin. Are we doing introductions, man?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Buenas tardes todos y todas. My name is Hector Marin. But before I introduce myself to y'all, I would like to thank every single one of y'all for being here, and I would like to thank the Democratic Central Committee for also keeping the fight alive for our democratic values. My name is Hector Marin, and I was influenced by the Obama era of politics. Obama has taught me, and not only has he taught me positive change, he has also inspired my generation to step up, to advocate for positive change. His mantra, yes we can, mirrors the similar mantra that Si Se Puede signifies, as coined by Dolores Huerta. In this Farm Workers' Day and in this Transgender Day of Visibility, we want to ensure that we fight for our future generations of Santa Cruzans by ensuring that we preserve and that we protect the American dream that we all so love. I'm a community organizer and an educator within the city of Santa Cruz. Our vision is simple, community first. We want to ensure that we provide an affordable Santa Cruz where we can all afford to live with permanent renter stabilization protections in place. Also, we want to ensure that we have workforce housing that is built by Santa Cruzans for Santa Cruzans. Our second principle behind our community first mantra is protecting what we love, protecting the local businesses, protecting our schools, protecting and preserving our local public spaces so we can preserve the unique character that makes Santa Cruz beloved for all of us. Our third principle, having a clean, safe, and inclusive downtown. Launching the Santa Cruz Volunteer Corps so that we can recruit hundreds of community members, hundreds of neighbors, nonprofits, so that we can beautify Santa Cruz together. I'll be honored to receive your endorsement. Mil gracias.
I want to begin by thanking everyone here this evening. My name is Scott Newsom. I represent District 4 on Santa Cruz City Council, and I come before you today to humbly ask for your endorsement of my re-election campaign to District 4. As a proud Democrat, I am thankful for and understand the importance of our party pushing back against the current administration that is an anathema to our values and a threat to so many in our community. I also believe unions are vital to workers, their families, and their livelihood, and during my first term on the Santa Cruz City Council, I have been supportive of organized labor. I proudly supported city bargaining units in their most recent contracts that brought them closer to parity with market rates. I supported implementation of an off-cycle compensation study for city workers. And I'm also part of a council subcommittee that is working on crafting and bringing forward a project labor agreement. And I'm humbled to have the endorsement of the Santa Cruz Local Firefighters Union, the Monterey Santa Cruz Building and Construction Trades Council, and Sheet Metal Workers Local 104. Together with affordable housing advocates, our community, and my colleagues on the council, I have also been a leader in fighting for housing affordability in the city of Santa Cruz. During my first term, I played a role in bringing forward Measure C, a successful local housing measure that will raise over $100 million over 20 years for affordable housing and homelessness prevention programs. And I'm proud that over half the units either under construction or just finished and occupied in my district over the past 3 years are affordable homes. Additionally, I worked with members and groups in our community and with my colleagues on the council to prevent homelessness in our city, bringing forward and passing an ordinance that was later replaced by a carbon copy legal settlement that placed rent caps on government-assisted housing developments and prevented 56 low-income residents in my district of St. George Apartments from being displaced and rendered homeless. I'm also proud to have worked with my colleagues to secure infrastructure investments in my district, such as over $300 million for transportation improvements, and helping secure over $13 million in federal, state, and local funding to rebuild and improve the wharf. During my next term, with your help, I'll continue to be a fighter for housing affordability, and I'll also continue to work collaboratively towards solutions for homelessness, increase economic vitality, increase investment in our local infrastructure. I humbly ask for you to join Planned Parenthood Advocates Marmonte, IAFF Local 1716, the Monterey Santa Cruz Building Trades Council, Sheet Metal Workers Local 104, and many others in endorsing my campaign.
Thank you.
Wait, I hold the mic? This?
Oh, close my face.
Okay, all right, here we go. All right, well, thank you all for being here tonight, and I have to say, I'm super excited to be running again, even though campaigning is not the favorite part of the job. And those of you that don't know me, I've spent over 25 years in public education, working exclusively at Title I schools, ensuring that our students' demographics don't determine their outcomes. And I had prepared a little to talk about, but I would just say in my time on council since 2000, I've focused on delivering results and managing all of the challenges that have come before us. We had COVID, we had the fires, we had the wharf collapse, we had Westcliff collapse, we've reduced homelessness year over year, we have built housing in all income brackets. My own father-in-law, who was unhoused living in Pogonip, is currently living at the Jesse Street apartments because of the work of our services that we have in the city. There's still more work to do. Santa Cruz is not perfect, but I will say what I will bring is experience, a lifetime of living in Santa Cruz, and I'm not going anywhere. And those of you that know me know that I listen and I'm thoughtful and I don't put myself first, I put the community first. Jillian, we worked together on Westcliff. Amy and I collaborated on the flock. Ryan and I have spent years talking about homelessness issues. Justin and I have been working on coastal access. Where's Felipe? Did he leave? Active transportation guy. He and I work on things across the county and across all jurisdictions to ensure active mobility and transportation to help reduce greenhouse gases. And so what I plan to bring is just continued collaboration with our local and state leaders in order to ensure Santa Cruz is better for all of us here now, those of us that are coming in the future, and people that come to visit this beautiful community. So that's what I hope to continue. Thank you.
Hi y'all, my name is Gabriella Nowak and I am running for District 6 City Council. First of all, I just want to say that it's such an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here beside people who have worked on City Council. It's an honor to be here with fellow young Democrats running to be on City Council for the first time. And it's an honor to be with you all here who are just individual Santa Cruz city citizens who give your free time to make Santa Cruz a better place. I know that we all have to work really hard to live in the city, so the hours that we have in our free time, they're few and far between, and civic involvement is very important to keep our town special. One of the reasons why I'm running is because I think that we need to collaborate to continue civic involvement, right? We're facing a regime that is trying to disenfranchise the woman vote, that is trying to disenfranchise the vote of BIPOC people. And today, on Trans Day of Remembrance, we should really take a day to think about how our LGBTQ friends, neighbors, I mean us, I'm LGBTQ, are being targeted by the current regime. And this isn't just federal, actually, it's right in our backyard. As running, I've really become very familiar with actually how gerrymandered our districts are, and how disenfranchised the student voice is, and how disenfranchised the Latinx vote is in Santa Cruz. I'm gonna say something, and I'm gonna say that, so I'm a student, and I'm gonna be graduating 10 days after the election. I had my class today called Topics in Social and Political Philosophy, and the teacher asked our class, are we obligated to obey the laws of the US government? only 3 out of 41 students rose their hand and said yes, right? This isn't because they're a bunch of anarchists or whatever the news might tell you. It's because students and young people feel disenfranchised in politics. We feel like our voice isn't represented. We feel like there's a bunch of doors closed, and there are these really, really big barriers in our way of super PACs, of financial barriers, in order to get us young and disenfranchised voters in City Council. Thank you.
We will now move on to our lightning round questions. Candidates will be asked a series of questions, and using the play cards we provided, can either respond with the green yes or red no. Please keep your place card up until the next question is read. Okay, first question. As City Council member, would you support the use of automatic license plate readers? Do you support publicly funded elections? Are you willing to sign the No Fossil Fuel Money Pledge? Are you willing to sign the Patience Over Profit Pledge? As City Council members, would you support passenger rail in Santa Cruz County?
That concludes our lightning round.
Thank you guys. For indulging us in this experience.
That's fun. Very creative.
Ceasefire. Yes.
Okay, we'll now move on to our first 4 questions. Our politics frequently centers on a few partisan and entrenched issues. Name one specific, tangible, under-discussed policy measure you will introduce and champion. In the order for this, we will start with Gabriella, and then move on to Hector, Scott, and then Renee.
I need you to repeat the question too.
Alrighty, so the niche policy measure I would introduce is actually something that I collaborated on with some person in District 6 that I just met last night. He gave me a great idea because he worked to clean up the Pocanip encampments last year and saw the amount of environmental degradation that was happening and the amount of privately contracted funds that was a very large amount, millions of dollars that were allocated to this encampment sweep. So we spent a lot of government money, and we also disenfranchised a lot of houseless people because, as statistics will tell us, that encampment sweeps without solutions just further displace our most vulnerable populations. So I think that houselessness solutions need a multifaceted approach, as houselessness cannot be jumbled into just one section. And I think a 3-tier based approach is a great way to go. As some of the mayor candidates were talking about, is that there's a lot of different people. There's some people who are having PTSD and feel safest under the trees. They're not ready to go into the housing places that we have yet, and we just know that because they're not getting completely filled. So I think that we should have green open spaces that are designated to a first tier of houselessness assessment. That means that we have access to trash, access to showers, access to bathrooms, and accessibility for disabled peoples. We can have 3 actually cement structures, open air, where people, if they'd like to camp, because some people have told us that they prefer to camp. People that I talk to on the street have told me that they don't feel safe in the shelters. And one thing that we can talk about too is, women sometimes don't feel safe in the shelters. And so that kind of can help to decrease expenditure when we're doing cleanup, because you can have 3 different areas where people can camp and you can clean those up easily. So a 3-tiered system means a second tier, and that would mean a second tier of housing that is a little bit more middle of the ground. And that's where we can introduce more holistic approaches to therapy, so on and so forth. And so we can use the building of tiny homes, and we can incentivize local jobs while doing this, because building of tiny homes can happen with using our local unions, using our local trade jobs, and we can build tiny homes for houseless people, as temporary housing, and then we can also have a third tier of more permanent housing that uses government subsidies and incentivizes access to free education, access to free health care, mental health care, so on and so forth, to continuously take care of our most vulnerable populations. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. I don't know how to do that.
Thank you, Joe. The first policy that I would champion within City Council in District 4 is having permanent renter stabilization policies. District 4 is very renter friendly. Not only is it very renter friendly, the Beach Flats Comunidad is within District 4, and they are often the most neglected community members in the city. So we must ensure that we protect our renters, because when we protect our renters, we also protect our workers in the process. And in order to champion something like that, we will reach across the aisle. We will collaborate with local city council members to create a balanced rent stabilization policy that is fair towards both renters and local homeowners, so that we can protect our renters so that they can stay within the city. I was knocking on doors just this past day, and there was a señora that was talking to me, and she was talking to me with tears in her eyes. She was telling me that she was getting evicted because the developer and the local property manager was closing up that specific property for a renovation. And this is called a renoviction. I know what this is called because I've been evicted myself. That's how I was displaced often, and that's the common story within the renters. So we must ensure that we have stronger, balanced renter stabilization policies so that we can protect local Santa Cruzans from being priced out of our comunidad. I would also like to add a gross receipts tax. The gross receipts tax that taxes any business that makes over $1 million in revenue. We want to ensure that we fund those funds into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund so that we can provide true affordable housing, workforce housing, inclusionary housing for our comunidades. I see my time. Thank you.
Thank you. I would say a policy measure that in the aggregate is under discussed. It's not when it happens in certain instances, but that I want to champion is increased investment in our infrastructure and in our local infrastructure. Increase investment in our roads to make our roads better, into storm drains, and make our drainage better, and sidewalks, protected bike lanes, and in our coastal infrastructure, and to make our coastal infrastructure stronger. During my first term, I've been able to secure some investment in those areas. I've been able to secure over $3 million for investment on 4 streets in my district for repaved roads or protected bike lanes. And also been able to increase investment in parks, new playground equipment at Poets Park. And I want to keep working on that in my second term and working for more investment in our local infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And I have to say to the mayoral candidates and to my colleagues up here too, with all due respect, some people were saying they're going to do things that we've already done and we're still doing. And so I'm going to take a little credit for some of the things we've already done in terms of getting more people housed, building some housing. But where I really see myself working towards next term is workforce housing. And I've got 2 projects I've worked really hard on and I'm very proud of. The Santa Cruz City School District, workforce housing at Natural Bridges. That is breaking ground and gonna be built within the next couple of years to help keep local educators here in town. And the second was in negotiations with the university in collaboration, not an adversarial way, of the Rentry property over off Delaware and making sure that one of those buildings is for staff. okay? And there's plenty of opportunity with the metro, with the hospitals, with other labor organizations, with the city, with SEIU, where we could build other workforce housing for people to have rents that are below market. In addition, I agree with my colleague here, we need to look at coastal resilience, coastal infrastructure, and green job creation. Looking back out back there at Casey, and I'm thinking, here's the thing, we need good jobs. My dad was a union bricklayer, my mom was a union bus driver, I was a union rep for Santa Cruz City Schools for over 20 years. So creation of jobs where we can get local young people invested in our community, either through I've been supporting putting some additional degrees out at Cabrillo where people can get job force training and get into the community with that. And then the final thing is I want to keep working with apartment owners where after that 10-year mark, when buildings start to age, we need to start doing some condo conversions and helping with down payment assistance, because it's better for families if they're not renters forever, if they can get into their first home, or if they are a senior and they want to get out of their family home and they want to downgrade. So that's where I am going to be focusing the next 4 years.
Okay, our second floor question is, how will you work directly with student leaders at UCSC to address issues like housing affordability, food access, and the overall increased cost of living, all of which is felt across Santa Cruz County? And this will go Scott Newsom, Renee Golder, Gabriela Nowak, and Hector Marin.
Thank you. So I think with that, you need to have an open dialogue with groups on campus and speak with groups on campus, the UC Democrats on campus and various other campus groups. We need to keep working towards building more affordable housing in our community and working towards just various other policies that will help decrease the cost of living in our community. Thank you.
So I was a transfer student from Cabrillo, and the reason I was a transfer student, my parents couldn't afford to send me away to a four-year school. So was my sister, she has a PhD. So are both of my kids. They're living at home, and they are transfer students. My son's at UCSC. So part of what I would like is to help the university educate students that this is not a place to come and expect affordability. Sorry, like it's not. We can do what we can. We won't be able to build our way out of it. That is, I don't think, a reality. But I do think we can put things in place to help students get access to internships, help them plan for good jobs in the future. If they have to take out loans, I've just finally paid off my master's loan. If you have to take out loans, then finding ways that you're gonna be able to repay those loans because it's an investment in your future. And so helping students figure out the best way to access the resources available to them, but also make smart decisions when they're deciding which university to attend. And I really would love to see more local kids attending UC Santa Cruz. I know it's not as many as it could be. And then I also think we need to have open conversations with our government directors at the university, because it's really not the university who's over-enrolling, it's the regents. And so the regents are the ones that are deciding how many kids are coming, making the classes impacted, making kids have to stay for 5 years for a 4-year degree. And I think it's really not fair and unsustainable for somebody to be living kind of below the poverty line while they're going through school for that many years. So I think it's through collaboration and keeping people informed.
Go Seahawks. I'm also a Cabrillo College graduate. I'm happy for this question because my passion really is about connecting UC Santa Cruz, Cabrillo, and the larger Santa Cruz area, right? I already talked about a disenfranchisement that's happening there, and I have had my boots on the ground working towards that. I'm just gonna give a little bit of background. So I started at Cabrillo. I instantly became a peer-to-peer tutor because I just found myself teaching learning with my fellow students. I became a tutor and a teaching assistant, and a lot of my peers were previously incarcerated peers. And through our collaborations, it became clear that there was a serious matter of educational inequity in Santa Cruz and the surrounding areas, especially the areas of Gilroy and Watsonville, where students are students of farm workers. These families are working for our economy, they're feeding us, and They are getting placed in places with environmental racism and issues of redlining and less resourced schools. So I saw a problem. I got to Everett and I said, okay, people are coming out of incarceration and they're not understanding how to use tech literacy, and it's getting in the way of jobs. So with the Everett program, I went with my fellow colleagues, Robin and Jackie. Robin's out here, shout out. And we all created a tech program to put in the jail to teach tech literacy and increase tech skills for incarcerated people in Roundtree. When I was in Roundtree, I thought, wow, this is great, but this is only good if it's the start. This can't be the end. So I saw a problem and I decided to make a solution with my fellow organizers at UC Santa Cruz. And we are currently building a program called United Futures in collaboration with Barrios Unidos to provide long-term tech education for free to previously incarcerated people, migrant families, and other politically marginalized populations. Tech literacy is very important in our current economy. Thank you very much.
Yeah, technical difficulties, right? Thank you so much for this question. We must support our youth first and foremost. So, speaking to what Renee said about experience, as a commissioner on the Public Health Services Agency for the County of Santa Cruz, we involved our local community members and we involved our local students by building the countywide equity frameworks, which also involved thousands of people, 1,000+ folks who are part of this. Not only that, nonprofit organizations such as Community Action Board, such as the UCSC Hispanic Serving Institute, they were involved within this process. And we have provided countywide support services for our countywide residents. And huge shout out to Justin and Felipe Hernandez, County Supervisor Felipe and Justin here. They have approved, and the county unanimously approved those countywide equity frameworks, and now they are providing essential services for County Santa Cruz's. So we will make sure that we similarly involve our local youth within the local political process, that we involve UCSC students to be part of the local policymaking process so that they can also have experience in local governance. Our future is in our youth, y'all. The least that we can do is ensure that we involve our UCSC students there. As a former banana slug, go banana slugs, yeah, shout out. As a former banana slug myself, I know how it feels like to have to worry how to pay the rent while still organizing full-time voluntarily, while still studying full-time. I know that struggle. So we will ensure that we have that open channel of communication with our UCSC, not only College Democrats, but also the BSU, the Black Student Union, also MECHA, the UCSC, also Porter Senate, Oaks Senate, making sure that we involve as many UCSC students as we can so that we can amplify and empower our youth. Thank you.
Thank you to the candidates. We now move on to our last question, and this question is, what role do you see the city playing in issues such as addressing affordable housing, homelessness, and how do you intend to work with the county to address these issues as well? And the order for this will be Renee, Gabriela, Hector, and Scott.
I've already talked a little about what I've done in the past. I will say also that somebody said, and I think it was Amy, that we are more alike than we are different in this room. We're all Santa Cruz Democrats, we're all Californians, we're all Americans, and who we should really be worried about is our federal government right now. And so taking away our liberties and trying to take away things that we've had for generations that we take for granted. So with this question, I will just say that I'll continue to collaborate with the county. The city doesn't have a health and human services department, yet we fund 4 full-time staff members to go out every day and talk to people. And yes, we have a list, and yes, we use HMIS, and yes, we partner with our local nonprofits. And every person that we have at the armory, I did the math one day on the dais, it's more expensive to have them there than it would be sending them to an all-inclusive resort in Fiji. So we're investing a lot of city general funds to help people in need. And these people are in need. They clearly can't care for themselves. And it makes me sick to see the suffering. It makes me even more sick as a school principal when I see kids coming in whose parents are in this cycle and they're growing up in this generational poverty. And so I think it's cruel that we're letting them out there suffer. And so I'll do whatever it takes. And I think we, again, need to take a multi-tier approach, but we need to work also with our justice system. Some people need care court. Some people need conservatorship. My husband's father needed to be kicked out of the Pocono because of the fires. He did not like sleeping downtown, and that was finally the last straw where we were able to get him to accept housing. And he's happy, and he's healthy, and he's a huge pain in the ass, and I love him, but he's endorsed, and that's what matters, and that's what we need to work on.
First of all, I just want to say I'm happy to hear about your dad. And
Father-in-law.
Father-in-law, and it's nice of you to take care of him. I do also have to say that there's a lot of people who don't have families to take care of them, and that's why they are houseless. And they have been living houseless for a very long time, and they've been living in their communities. And so I think it's very important to be going to the houseless communities and hearing what they need and collaborating with them when we're coming up with our policies. Really quickly, I do really agree that we need to be very aware of the federal government that we are working under. We also need to be aware that we are currently in a war with Iran. And even though it's not reported on all the time, this is seriously going to affect our economy, and we need to start thinking about seriously protecting the livelihoods of the people who live in Santa Cruz. I think a very important way to do this is to protect people's jobs. 50% of workers in Santa Cruz are in the lowest tier of wage workers. They have to, on average, have 2.72 jobs in order to afford housing in Santa Cruz. The answer, unionization. Yet, a lot of our city council members are voting on expansion plans that don't have PLAs embedded into the contracts and are using labor contracted from LA that is ripe with labor abuse allegations, and we are undermining our local unions that do provide education, that provide good quality jobs. I think we also need to be very aware of the systems that we reproduce in our local economy, in our local government, and I think that this includes ALPR cameras. I think that private and government collaborations with tech companies that make money off of turning everyday citizens into a data point is inherently exploitative. Okay, thank you.
Can you repeat the question, please? Sorry.
What role do you see the city playing in addressing issues such as homelessness, affordable housing, and how do you intend to work with the county to address these issues?
Thank you so much, Joe. And thank you for the comments of Gabriela about mentioning Iran. I really wish that we had a rapid round question for the ceasefire. We would have seen the real differentiation of our politics then. But besides the point, in terms of city and county services, we must ensure that there's improved city-county coordinations in terms of the way that we respond towards the unhoused crisis that we have in the city of Santa Cruz. What happened last winter? 3 people died as a result of there being a lack of shelter programs so that they could be safe during a very heightened and a very dangerous rainy day. Those 3 casualties should not be happening, and that speaks to the way that the current city-county coordination is failing our community. We must ensure, y'all, this is people's lives at risk. It's not just policy. It's not just sitting behind city council chambers and approving something and calling it a day. It's people's lives at risk. And within our office, we will take this very serious. We will ensure that we take initiative, that we utilize preventative measures to ensure that there is improved city-county coordination with the unhoused crisis so that this does not happen again. so that we can prevent this from ever happening. Part of our vision is also opening an office of housing stability within the city. And this office of housing stability will be in charge of making sure that there is more improved city-county coordinations for the unhoused, so that this casualty does not happen again. Not only that, this office of housing instability will ensure that if there is a tenant-landlord dispute which can render a tenant evicted, or which damages or which is unjustful towards the homeowner, we can have mediation programs where we support both parties so that we can have facilitating conversations to prevent the displacing of our comunidades. Thank you.
Thank you. So the city and the county work collaboratively, need to continue to work collaboratively to address homelessness in our community. And the county is the Health and Human Services arm of the state and plays a more main or prominent role in that aid, but the city helps augment the county in that process. We spend over $10 million per year in our budget to provide services for the unhoused in our community. And over the last 3 or 4 years, as my colleague has said, the number of on-street homelessness has decreased in our community close to half over the last 4 years. In terms of affordable housing, the city needs to keep incentivizing building affordable housing. And also, I think our community took a very important step last election by enacting Measure C and providing a fund that will help fund for more affordable housing and help build more affordable housing in our community. So I think continuing to incentivize building more affordable housing, helping to fund and help build affordable housing are things we need to look at on that front. Thank you.
And this concludes the Santa Cruz City Council race portion of our program. Thank you to each of the candidates for participating this evening.
Okay, can everyone hear me? The results are in. The official results are for Superior Court Judge, our endorsed candidate is Brian Hackett. For County Supervisor, District 3, our endorsed candidate is Justin Cummings. For County Supervisor, District 4, Felipe Hernandez is our endorsed candidate. For the City of Santa Cruz Mayor, City of Santa Cruz City Council District 4, and City of Santa Cruz Council District 6, all of those races are no consensus. If you have any questions, all this will be emailed out to all the DCC members. Thank you all tonight. Really appreciate it. Everybody get home safe.